So I want to go back to the time when I was struggling to find esports work, when I was struggling to get any attention from esports organizations, esports people. I was applying for so many different jobs and I just couldn't find it, right? I heard this piece of advice and I ignored it for a while. I saw a friend implement it and he found success. So I went back and I was like, let me give this a shot. And actually the first time I tried it, I got my esports job, or I got an esports gig. And that honestly led to me getting a full-time position. So what is that piece of advice? Make the thing you want to be hired for. Hey guys, my name is Sam, aka Just Casual. Welcome to another video. And this is a topic that I've been wanting to talk about for a while. And I've been just trying to figure out how to do it. And therefore I haven't put out a video. So now I'm just gonna force it and put out a video. And it's gonna start out with story time. Back in the day, I was helping Travis Gafford make his Hotline League podcast. If you don't know who Travis Gafford is, he is pretty much the interviewer for League of Legends content, at least independent person that's not affiliated with Riot. And I reached out to him, started doing some volunteer work, but what ended up happening was, like I said, I heard this piece of advice to make the thing you want to get hired for. And at the time I was like obsessed with social media stuff, making content, and I'm like, hey, he has this podcast that I'm attached to and I like. I'm gonna make content around it to post on social media. So I made him this video. It was like 30, 60 seconds. I don't remember, 120 seconds. And I sent it to him randomly one day. I'm just like, hey, I made this thing in my free time. Let me know what you think. If you want to use it, you can go ahead. And that ended up starting a long conversation with him because he was like, whoa, this is interesting and good. He posted it. I think it did pretty well. And he's like, hey, can you make more of these? And how much would that cost? And that was like my first paid gig in esports. And I think this piece of advice works really, really well. And I think not enough people actually try it. And I think if you are someone that is pretty confident in their skills too, this is something that works extremely well. As someone that hires people, if I'm able to see this, that makes my life so much easier too. And the second thing I want to talk about is this was actually used on me and it got someone a gig working with Golden Guardians. We were putting out this series called Behind the Play where we're kind of going back at one of our games and talking about how the play happened, kind of like Jad's Teamfight Breakdown when that was a thing. And this freelancer just tweeted at us under the video saying hey, I can make this intro better or something like that, and just sent us a new intro. And it was really good. And not only did I notice it, my boss noticed it. And then he was like, hey, do you know who this guy is? And I was like, oh, I've been meaning to reach out to him because that was really impressive. And after talking to the person, he started making most of our intros for videos. He made the intros for Peekaboo's YouTube channel. He made the intro for a Perfidia video that we did. And yeah, he ended up getting a lot more work from us. And I'm currently trying to figure out more work for him. So this is something that has worked and continues to work. So I want to talk about next, how can you actually apply this? Because I think it's really, really obvious when it involves video editing or graphics, because you can just be like, hey, I made a t-shirt design for Golden Guardians and this is what it is. And you post it on Twitter and tag us. We see that kind of stuff. But if you're not someone that's making these really obvious, tangible things like video edits or graphics, what can you do too? So I was watching this video from the CEO of Complexity, Jason Lake, and he even mentioned this one. He's talking about hiring, where he got someone in marketing, I think, or content, and they were just writing him decks of hey, this is the type of YouTube content you could do. Hey, this is the type of partnership and sales that you're missing out on. And he's just starting sending them this stuff. And even though Complexity wasn't ready to hire, when the time came where they had an opening or money to hire someone, this guy was the first in line and ended up getting hired. So this is why I think this is super, super valuable for people to use. And creatively, even if you're not making this tangible product like a video, you can still figure out creative ways to do this and show this off, right? And this requires a lot more work than sending a generic resume to multiple orgs and jobs and teams and people. But I also think that this converts a lot better when you can actually show people that you can do it. I think this is something that's really, really important for those that find themselves as a risky hire. Let's say you want to do social media management stuff, but you don't have any experience under your belt besides like you have your own Twitter account, you have your own Instagram account that you might have grown, might have not, but you don't have like really big bullet points on your resume to prove this or show off that you're a good hire. I would say you can get creative where you can even say like, hey, this is my 10-step plan for the Golden Guardians when they want to do a Smash tournament. This is how I would do the social coverage and lay that all out and present that in like a nice PDF, right? And do fake tweets, sample tweets that you would do, and maybe some graphics, or like these are the type of videos that I would put out. If you actually do that and it's really, really good, then I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna talk to this person. And the cool thing is that if there's not a job posting right now, let's say you're trying to get a job with Golden Guardians and social media, just sticking with the same example, but there's no opening, right? What if you do that, we see that, we're impressed, but we're like, hey, we don't have any openings, but we know that Evil Geniuses has an opening, so we're gonna like forward your stuff to them. Or like, oh, you know what? I know this person needs something. We can give references. Or when we need a social media person, or we have freelance work, which like we have done, and we looked for freelancers for like all the different expansion games that we're a part of. That's when suddenly we're like, hey, I remember Zach sent us that stuff, that deck that we're really, really impressed with. So now we can actually just go to you and talk to you rather than going through a long process of figuring out how to go to HR to make a job posting, get it checked by a lot of people, then post it, then go through resumes for like 2 weeks and then do interviews. Instead, we're just like, hey, we know a person, let's go talk to them, especially if we're impressed. So that's another thing where it's not necessarily the short-term play, but it can be a long-term play. And let's say you do this with 5 organizations and you don't get hired by any of them, but you're like really good. It's going to make a difference. I can guarantee that. And I think the disclaimer I want to say about this tactic is it requires a lot of work. Let's use an easy example. You're a video editor, but you're not very good at video editing. So when you send us the cool montage of all your Valorant highlights, but it's not edited well, this is not gonna work. But I will say you'll gain a lot of experience polishing something that you're like really, really proud of, that you really want to show off to an org, and that's beneficial. But that's also like where I think this is the piece of advice that really works and that will find success with those that are actually like already, that are qualified, that are good enough, that they're either like don't have the experience to show for it, but they are talented enough, or they know their things, they just haven't gotten their big break. And I think this really works well for those that are really specialized. Let's say you do podcasts really well, or you run events really, really well, or you are the person that can make anime crossover graphics with players. That's when you go like, hey, I can make this for you, Golden Guardians. I can make this for you, TSM. I can make this for you, Ninja or Dr. Lupo or something. And you just pitch them and show them that you've made it, or make it of them, you know, and then sell it to them afterwards if they're interested. I think those are the two people that are those are the types of people that this is really, really helpful advice to get hired. So I think that this piece of advice is not easy. It's hard, but it really does work. If you have any success stories or you've tried this before, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys think. And if you have another topic that you want me to cover, let me know in the comments. Thanks, bye. If you want to support the channel, you can create an account at Hitmarker using my personalized link in the video description. Esports organizations and these companies, they post their jobs on Twitter, they post them on LinkedIn, they post them on Monster. But the thing is, Hitmarker does a really good job at finding all these jobs and putting them into one place. So if that interests you, click on the link, create an account, and I'll be eternally grateful.